Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ethos Online. Again, this is a space where you can be, belong, and become the very best version of yourselves. And so, wherever you're joining us, whether you're joining us from Minnesota, Florida, California, wherever you are, we want to thank you so much for allowing this space to be possible. And so, we again want to create safe space where people can thrive, where people can feel like their questions are okay. It's okay to live in the liminal space. It's okay to reconstruct and deconstruct and reconstruct again. It's all part of life. And so we love looking at this beautiful compilation of stories, narratives, poetry, wisdom writings. We love this book, the Bible. And so we like discussing it here and just delving deeper and deeper. And so if you find this helpful, we would ask that you consider sharing every time you watch one of these videos. Please share it to a friend, a neighbor, social media. Let's get the message out that there's actually a lot of beauty here and very applicable, especially right now. And so if you look below, you'll see some descriptions, and you'll see one way you can financially help us every month. You can give there. That's a tax-deductible donation. There's also a spot there in your YouTube channel. You can click on the little bell and the subscribe button, and that will remind you every time we put up a new video weekly. It'll show every time the new one goes live. And so thank you again for joining us today. So before we move into this series, Genesis, I wanted to share with you, I get these questions often. And so even for people who aren't listening as much, I get them from the blogs or the podcasts or the Ethos live living room sessions. I get a lot of questions that come in. And so here's one I thought, this is kind of interesting. It actually hits home a bit for me. My main audience often is people who have left religious structures but are still very spiritual, who are looking for connection to the divine. And so here's the question that an individual gave me, which again, I find really fascinating. Here it is. My child left God and church, and I am worried to death about him. What should I do as a parent? Yeah, this is difficult, right? Especially if you have connected the church to life, immortal life, morals, ethics, all of that. This is a really difficult issue as a parent, and I get it. This is painful. And so what do we do? Well, I can tell you from experience, there's some things you just should not do. And so I want to first touch on some of the things that you definitely should not do as a parent, a pastor, a church member, when someone leaves. Here's some things I would argue are probably really the worst, most destructive things you could do before I move into the do's. So here we go. Number one, show judgment. Right? I know you're angry. I know sometimes when someone leaves a faith or a religious tribe or structure, whatever, there's a feeling of like, they've betrayed us, right? They've left us. They think they're better than me, whatever. It's very easy to allow like a feeling of anger to come to the surface. And feeling that, you the first thing you do is you show a bit of judgment. Like, there's condescension involved. That is the last thing someone who has just stepped away, again, this is painful for them too. And they've stepped away and you show judgment. And again, some anger involved. That's probably one of the worst things you could do to destroy relationship and connection to your son, your daughter, your friends, that church member. The last thing you should do. Number two, share fears of losing their souls. Right? When you begin to go down that path of like, aren't you afraid of losing your soul? Aren't you afraid God's going to be angry with you? When you begin moving toward fear, again, last thing someone needs to hear. Fear causes us to respond with like lizard brain, right? We immediately want to run. Rather than moving toward connection and conversation, when you begin striking up fear techniques, it causes someone to want to leave quickly. They don't want to be around that. Because honestly, who does? Fear gets, yes, that adrenaline pumping and all that, but when you fall, right, after 5 minutes of that, you got to turn off the news, right? You got to step away because you can't live in that place. And so when you're the one instilling that in that person, yeah, it's probably one of the main reasons you left in the first place. Yeah, they don't want to hear that. Number three, utilizing guilt and fear techniques. Going a little bit deeper with this now. When you begin guilting them, well, great grandma, she would be so ashamed of you. Like, really? That's what you're going to say? Like, that's how you're going to draw them back? Fear and guilt Shaming them is never the way. Jesus says over and over again, that is not the way to life. Life more abundantly starts with love and connection. This is the very opposite, right? Your own Bible doesn't teach that. Why would you be sharing that with someone who's left it, right? Yeah, not a good way to start. And then last one, ostracize, kick them out. I've seen this over and over again. I've experienced some of this. The minute you begin having shifting perspectives, when your opinion doesn't quite fit anymore with the norm, when you start asking questions, right? Instead of people pulling you in to engage with you, the easy thing to do is just kick them out, right? They made me feel uncomfortable, so I need to get out. I need to get you out of my space so that I can feel good again. The truth is that's going to be short-lived, because what's going to happen essentially is you're going to lose them altogether. You boot them out now. You kick them out of your church. You remove them from friendships and conversations. You're never going to get them back. You're never going. And when I say get them back, I mean get them back into relationship with you. You're actually going to ruin that connection and that relationship. It's not the way to bring about real connection and relationship. It just isn't. And so here are some to-dos. If I were you, here's some ways that I think would be helpful and healthy for you and your son. Or again, daughter, church member, friend, whatever, wherever you're joining us from. Number one, show love. Like, remind yourself, I love this person. That's why I'm worried in the first place. And so every response, every word you use, let it come from a place of love, not fear, not guilt, not anger, but let it come from a place of love. You love this person. You care about this person. You have compassion on this person. Let your words just drip with love. Number two, ask them how they're doing, because more than likely no one else is. They're dying to talk to someone about what's going on right now. And if you are pushing them away, who are they going to talk to? If you as a parent say, I want to open conversation with my son, my daughter, if you have open conversation about this, guess what? You become the place they go to when they're scared, when they're asking questions, when they're nervous. If you can start the conversations and create safe space for them, man, like no matter where they go and their beliefs and non-belief, they have a relationship with you. And really at the end of the day, that's what's going to be important. Number three, avoid guilt and fear techniques. We talked about this. There is absolutely no life using those techniques. You're just going to hurt relationship, hurt yourself, hurt your community. Fear, guilt, and shame should have no place in the Jesus message. They just don't. Yes, it's been hijacked, right? Bring it back. That message was never about fear, guilt, and shame. And then lastly, bring them even closer. Rather than pushing them away, find ways to bring them closer. Take them out for dinner, coffee, lunch. Bring them together for anything you can think about that would bring them to you, where you can relax, enjoy, laugh together, watch a fun movie together, pop some popcorn. Whatever you can do, try your best to bring them in. Don't push them away. Bring them in. And when you do, you create safe space for that child or that person to grow. And here's the beauty of it. When you do that, you grow as well. So, great question. Thank you for that. I had a lot to say on that one. Now, let's move into Genesis, shall we? Genesis, this beautiful, beautiful compilation, it starts there in Babylon, right? They are marched hundreds of miles on foot after their temple and their very city is destroyed. Their people are enslaved again. And so they're taken to Babylon, this huge empire with all of these other peoples and nations that have also been conquered. And there you begin to see so many different religious beliefs and non-religious beliefs, all different practices. And the question for them was, how do we keep our narrative? How do we keep our beliefs? How do we hold on to our identity? And so really the Torah is written in response to the fears of assimilation. That's why the whole thing is written. It is not written as a historical document. That's not what they did back then. They compiled all of the stories, the narratives, and they put it all together in what we call Torah. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Torah. That's where the life was. That's where their identity was. And in that, it's filled with poetry and songs and great stories that have been like epically told into mythologies, prophetic musings, wisdom writings, prophetic warnings saying, hey, if you go this direction, this is going to happen. Maybe consider stepping back. Maybe consider doing it differently. And so again, Torah is a complete narrative of Israel miniaturized through its tellings. Every single character you see in Genesis is going to have some connection to Israel. It's either going to represent Israel or anti where Israel should be. That's the bigger picture. And if you can read Genesis that way, the flood, Joseph, the stories of Joseph, Abraham, all of it, it begins to really pop. Were those people real or not? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they've been glorified to this degree. But however you decide to read it, always look at it through that lens and the thing will hum. It'll make sense. It's beautiful. And so today we're going to finish off Genesis chapter 1. And so one more reminder, in Genesis chapter 1, they start almost as like a knock on Babylon. And it's almost like, hey, Babylon has their creation story. Let us show you a better one. And so Enuma Elish, the Babylonian one, has their gods step into the picture and actually begin just creating chaos. So again, to be Babylonian is to be violent, chaotic, warring people. And so, of course, their gods are going to look like this. And so their gods hover over the waters and they battle, they create chaos, and out of these battles, life is created. That's their story. Israel's story is different. And we've been using this analogy, which I think is really a cool one. God steps into the chaos. Israel's God steps into the chaos that's there. It's like your dining room table, right? It gets cluttered. It's messy. And so God steps into the chaos. He gets close to that messy table that's been just gathering crap all week. And he begins clearing space. Because all of us know when our lives get chaotic and crazy, the worst thing we can do is keep adding to it. Sometimes you have to stop. Sometimes you have to stop and clear out space. Because the only way good things are going to come in is if there's space for them. And so this God creates space. He clears the table. And then after he clears the table, this God begins to set the table, right? We talked about God as butler, right? And it's a beautiful picture. Begins putting the beautiful things on the table so that we might enjoy them together. That's the beautiful picture. And so that leads us into Genesis 1, verses 24 through 25 to start. And it goes like this. And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures, according to their kind. Notice that. Cattle and creeping things, and the beasts of the earth, according to their kind. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kind, right? And the cattle according to their kind. And all the creeping things of the ground according to their kind. And God saw that it was good. So, first off, let's remember, good. It doesn't say perfect, right? A static state of non-change. No, the word is tov. It's good. It means changing. It's dynamic. There's life. There's death. There's resurrection. There's spring, right? There's fall. There's winter. There's summer. That's tov, and it's good. Yeah, that makes sense now, right? It was good. It was not perfect. It's not that there was no death. No, there's death. There's new life. There's spring, right? There's change. There's shifting. That's the idea. But notice this phrase right here, according to their kind. It's repeated over and over again. And we know with any good poetry, and again, Genesis 1 is essentially poetry. Genesis 2 is more of narrative, story. But notice the poetry here over and over again. You'll see lines repeated. And whenever the Hebrews repeat lines, there's something there. And so this word according, the word is min. And it simply means categorizing, putting things in order. And so if you're my little daughter, Brooklyn, what you'll do when you play with all of your toys is you'll see her, even at 18 months, what she'll do is she'll notice horsey. And then she'll notice another horsey. And the horsies she'll put together. It's like in our very DNA, we want to put things to order. And when things aren't in order, we feel a little bit crazy. She'll pull out the elephant and look at the elephant and the horse and notice those two they're not the same. And so she'll begin putting things in order, categorizing, because again, that's kind of what we were made, if you want to say made, to do. We just order, we change, we move. And so there's a really dirty word in our culture right now. The word is politics. Politics. We'll hear people say, I avoid religion and politics when I talk to people. Politics, it's just so bad, it's evil. I just avoid it altogether. But here's the thing about politics. Politics is not actually a bad thing. Now, it can be practiced poorly, right? It can be practiced really poorly, but politics is actually just a way that we collectively order life. That's the idea behind a politic, right? We bring people together. We figure out the very best, healthiest way to order life, or at least that's what it should be, right? But it's all about how we order life, how we move and change and shift. And so deep within this idea of according to life is that basically this God steps in and this God says, I'm going to begin creating order, creating organizational things, patterns that are going to help you live the very healthiest, fullest life possible. And not just you, but everything. Everything around you is going to have order and life. And it's going to be able to follow this beautiful pattern that this God lays out. Again, what a shift from the perspective of like the Enuma Elish story, right? And then notice this. It continues. Chapter 1, 26 through 27. It goes like this. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and they shall rule over the fish and the sea, over the fowl of the heaven, and over the animals, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping things that creep upon the earth. Right? And God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. Notice the word man. When we see this word man, let's go deeper. Let's consider like mankind, something bigger here. He creates human life, right? Now, this word man I find really fascinating. The word here is Adam. It comes from the root word, the Hebrew root word Adama, which means dirt. Yeah. Why would the Hebrews have this God create man out of dirt? Why not like diamonds? Right? Why not something cool? Why dirt? Right? God made dirt. Dirt don't hurt. Why would he create man? Why not use something more interesting? Well, here it is. Have you ever had a moment where you're like, I don't know, for me, I'm driving down the highway and I have no signal on my phone and I'm getting so frustrated. I've got to make this call. I don't know where I am. Maybe my Google Maps has like stopped working. Like, good Lord, what do I do then? Yeah. And I'm so mad and I roll down the window and I take the phone. I'm about to throw it out. What am I doing? Yeah, it would seem insane. I'm driving and someone keeps stopping in front of me. I'm honking my horn. What are we doing? Right? Oftentimes we're reminded of our dirt-like nature. Right? There is a darkness that sometimes we fall to. There's that passion, that energy that if not steered correctly will lead us toward that dirt-like formation. And this is why the Hebrews, and according to most rabbis, will say dirt. Again, is it literal? Did man literally come from dirt? Well, I don't know about that. But the beautiful metaphor here is that we are filled with, we're half dirt. Right? And so when we do certain things, when we fall, when we hurt ourselves and others, that is us kind of tailoring our lives to a certain degree toward this dirt-like nature. But here's the beauty of this. It doesn't end there. Because we are also filled, according to the scriptures, with something called ensama, which is spirit, life. The literal perspective here is God breathes into man. So takes dirt. Yes, the passion, the energy, the fire, right? But then he breathes life, his breath into man. And when this happens, man becomes whole. And so you have dirt, right? Dirt plus spirit, breath, life equals mankind. And so we're a mixture of light and dark, passion, love, yin and yang. That's the idea here of the dirt and spirit coming together as one. Really cool, right? Notice this. it continues there. Let us make him in the image of God. Our image is what it says, right? In the image of God. And this is where we get this word incarnation, right? The incarnation, God and man becoming one. And we've heard this before, haven't we? Yeah, there are songs and all of this, especially during Christmas time when we discuss Jesus. But here's why in 1 Corinthians, it says this. It says, the first man, Adam, became a living being, and the last Adam, a life-giving spirit. And that is in reference to Jesus. And so think about Adam. Adam is both dirt and divine. And often the way we discuss Jesus, many people will say Jesus is both dirt and divine. The beautiful picture here of Jesus is that Jesus and Adam starts the thing, right? He's supposed to be the gardener, the one that kind of continues this movement of learning to order life together. And so in this idea of incarnational life, man and spirit, we have Jesus step into the picture, right? Again, beautiful, beautiful storytelling. Jesus steps into the picture in the New Testament, and he becomes the one that continues the ordering and the change and the life-giving. And you get this idea of man, spirit, and dirt. It's beautiful. You can see what the Hebrews are doing here. And again, the New Testament will borrow from this over and over again. Now, back to Genesis. Genesis 1:28 says this, and I have heard so many people take this and go a lot of weird directions. And so it says this, God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, right? So have a lot of kids. Yeah, we'll get into that. Fill the earth and subdue it. Subdue it. And rule over the fish in the sea, over the fowl of the sky, over all the beasts that tread upon the earth. So I've had conversations with really well-meaning people, and they've said, God gave us this earth. We should exploit it, right? We should use it. Cut down every damn tree we can. Right? Cut down the trees. Take advantage of all the resources, the oil, the mining, the fracking. Let's take every ounce of this earth we can. Let's squeeze what we can out of it, because we're getting out of here anyways, right? That's what many people say the word subdue means. And truthfully, the Hebrew word does mean to take, to grab. That's the idea here. It's mine. But here's what I would argue. When you do that, you miss the context, because context is everything. I love this image here. I love this image. Style, you have a bald person, you're looking at them. You can have a billion assumptions about this person. Oh, they're wearing they cut all their hair because that's what's in style. Or, oh, they cut their hair because they're a Nazi scumbag, right? Or maybe they're a soldier. Or maybe they're a cancer survivor. You don't know. When you look at that person, that woman or that man who has their head shaved, if you don't talk to them, you're functioning now on only assumptions. You're not actually getting the whole context. And so context, again, is everything. And so I'd love for you to notice this. The context is be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. Notice those words, fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. Don't remove things. Continue filling the earth with goodness and life. One rabbi says this, be fruitful and multiply did not imply to bring the earth to ruin, but to multiply the blessings, the resources, the beauty. It never implied we remove and waste it. Right? Beautiful. Yeah, we, the second Adams, right? We are called to continue building this thing up, continue helping multiply the blessings of the earth, not hijacking it and squeezing every resource out of it we can until there's nothing left. That is not being a good steward of this world. And that's not what Adam was asked to do, nor is it what the second Adam, Jesus, was meant to do. Right? If we're to follow in the example, we are to continue multiplying and growing and building this earth, making it the very best world possible, teeming with life. That's the idea. And so it continues. Genesis 1:29-31 says this, God said, behold, I've given you every seed bearing herb, which is upon the surface of the entire earth, and every tree that has seed bearing fruit. It will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and to all the fowl of the heavens, and everything that moves upon the earth, in which there is a living spirit, every green herb to eat. And it was so. And God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was good. And it was evening, and it was morning, the sixth day. So again, he does not give us the herbs and the animals so that we can just destroy them. No, the idea here is to multiply, to grow. We're to care for this teeming life all around us. Yeah, isn't that a great way of viewing this? So, end of the day, what do we do with this, right? If there's no application, well, it's just a fun story. Yeah? And so I want you to continue taking this home. So here's a couple challenges I want to give you in regard to this section we read. And by the way, every time we do this, I would love for you to take those verses again, read them over again. Watch as after doing this, the whole thing comes alive. Yeah, so do that and then step into these questions. Number one, what is most valuable? What's the most valuable resource you have in your life right now? Most, not moat. What's the most valuable resource you have in your life right now? When you think about what you value, what's most important, write down a couple of those things right now. It might be family, right? It might be money. It might be church. It might be God. It might be time, just time itself. What are the most valuable resources right now that you have? Number two, ask yourself, am I truly fostering and caring for this? Or am I wasting and exploiting the resource? Like, think about time alone. How often are we wasting time? Yeah, there's so much time right now that you're given. You have that 24 hours every day. What are you doing with it? Are you wasting it away? Or are you taking every ounce of it you can and multiplying the blessings? Family, friends, community, those are all blessings. What are you doing to spend time with those things that are most important to you? Third, I'd love for you to do this. Write a short list of things you do on a normal day. I think often we forget, we fall into schedules and patterns and behaviors. When you actually take time to write this down, I've done this and it's a shocker. It actually has shifted the way I live daily. And so write down a list of things you do on a normal day. Are you happy with this list? After you write it, ask yourself, am I happy with the amount of time I'm spending on this and this and this? Right? Are there things missing on this list that should be there that you're just not doing? Maybe I need to be exercising. That should be on the list. Maybe I need to be calling a friend or a parent, maybe daily. Maybe that should be on the list, right? What should be on this list? Are you comfortable with how much time is spent on the various things? This is where we take inventory. We do the hard work. And then lastly, I'd love for you to read some of these verses. These verses are so good. I'd love for you to meditate on these. Psalm 90, verse 12, Psalm 39, 4 through 5, James 4, 13 through 17. These are beautiful. These are beautiful verses about how to view time and resources and blessings differently. And so ask God when you do these, take some time in prayer and meditation to challenge you in regards to how you order your life and maybe how you should order it differently. Everyone, thank you so much. This was fun. This was so much fun to move through these. Again, they're just a couple verses here and there, but they're filled with so much meaning, so much application. And so I want to remind you, this is difficult work. We spend hours prepping and doing these videos. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And so we would love for you to team with us. Go to ethos-church.org/donate. Continue supporting what we're doing. Again, we put so much energy, resources. Leo is over here helping with the video. We have editing and all those kind of things. We do podcasts. We do periodic blogs. We do Ethos live sessions where we meet in our living rooms twice a month. We do so much to keep this moving. So much good content out there. We'd love for you to support what we do. Give those tax-deductible donations. It really does help. And again, I brought it up there. Ethos Living Rooms. We come together twice a month through Zoom. And we have these services, right? And they're not services, it's discussion. We have actual live discussions. And it is so life-giving. We'll talk about everything. We'll deconstruct, we'll reconstruct. And at the end of the day, almost always, we all walk away feeling like, wow, this was good. This brought life. And as always, hit that button, subscribe, hit that bell on your YouTube channel. Every time a new video comes up, you'll see it. So everyone, Thank you so much for joining us here at Ethos. We think these messages should be shared. So please share them everywhere you go with everyone you meet. Let's bring more and more beauty and change to this world, right? Everyone take care. Love ya. And we'll see you next week.